Hi, I'm Lou from Dividend Dog. Welcome. Here we look at stocks with an emphasis on dividends paying stocks. So if that's your kind of thing, consider subscribing. Here today we're going to look at a company. It's called the Gorman-Rupp Company. And the Gorman-Rupp Company, they're a manufacturer of pumps. These pumps, they come in all different sizes, anywhere from a diameter of 1/4 inch to almost 15 feet in diameter. So they come in all different sizes for all different applications, but they make pumps. That's what they are. They're manufacturer and salespeople of pumps. Their slogan is the pump people, and they use the term a lot, the right pump for the job. So all different pumps. Let's go into some of a brief history of this company to see where they're at and how they became the company they are today. So they were started in 1933 by two engineers. It's Mr. Gorman and Mr. Rupp. And 1933, that was in the middle of the Great Depression. In 1953, the company established the Gorman-Rupp Industries division, making specialty pumps. In 1968, Gorman-Rupp went public. They became a publicly traded company in 1968. The 1970s, the Mansfield division acquired the Roto Prime pump. So they acquired another pump company. In 1977, they acquired the Ramparts Company. They produced plastic lined pumps, valves for abrasive and corrosive applications, broadening the company's industrial market opportunities. In 1970s, they also started the international company division. In the late 1980s, they acquired the Patterson Pump Company. That had a line of large volume centrifugal pumps and pumps for fire production. They also acquired the International Pump Technology Company. In the 1990s, they established Patterson Pump Ireland Limited for the assembly of the protection pumps for sale throughout Europe. In 1999, a distribution center was opened in Europe and started for another distribution center in Asia. 2002, they had two acquisitions. They acquired the American Machine and Tool Company, which made small centrifugal and diaphragm pumps, and FlowPak, which manufactures pre-packaged pumping systems for fire protection, industrial plumbing, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning markets. FlowPak, subsequently, what they did was they merged that into the Patterson Pump Company subsidiary. 2007, they purchased a 90% interest in Wavo Pumpin BV. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but subsequently that was renamed Gorman-Rupp Europe BV. That's a pump manufacturer with facilities over in the Netherlands. 2010, they acquired the National Pump Company. That brought 6 new locations, and that was doing irrigation, municipal, industrial, and oil and gas markets. 2012, American Turbine was acquired, and that was added to the National Pump Company. Also in 2012, Pumptron was acquired, and that was renamed Gorman-Rupp Africa. 2014, Bayou City Pump was acquired. What that did was that allowed them access to the inland liquid petroleum and chemical transport market. 2015, Hydro Plus and Hydro Plus Rental were acquired in Belgium to expand the company's European presence. And throughout the history, they talk about introducing all these new kinds of pumps and how these pumps work. And, I'm not really a pump person to know the ins and outs, but they go through, the whole history of all these different innovations in pump technology. Looking through the history, it reads very much like a family-run company. And it basically, it still kind of is. According to when I look at the 2022 proxy statements, the person running, the executive chairman, is Jeffrey S. Gorman. So the executive chairman, he's a Gorman. Him, along with his wife and children and grandchildren, they own 1,730,646 shares. So him and his family, that represents 6.6% of the stock. And then there's another person, Gail Green, and her family. They collectively own 1,500,426 shares. That comes out to be 5.7% of the stock. Gail Green is the sister of Jeffrey Gorman, so she's also a Gorman. So when you look at this, the Gorman family, between Jeffrey Gorman and Gail Green, the Gorman family still owns at least 12.3% of the company. I see that as a positive. So we look at the companies and just over the markets they serve with their pumps. Not surprisingly, most of it's water and water related. So we can see fire suppression, municipal water, wastewater, agriculture, construction. They call non-water. That's industrial, chemicals, HVAC, refined petroleum, OEM, and then the rest is repair parts. So they service these different industries that require pumps. So let's look at some of the financial results. Results looking at what they've done so far. The results are so-so. It's consistently profitable, but earnings are somewhat bouncy, moving up and down. I'd rather see revenues and net profit and EPS, the earnings per share. I'd rather see it going in a more predictable trends, going upwards. The dividend has been consistently raised each and every year, as we can see. The payout ratio of the earnings, so the amount of dividends per earnings, has been trending up recently, which is usually not a good sign. But this is unusual here. The company has no debt. So the fact that they have no debt, it really makes them an outlier as a company in today's world. How many companies have no debt? There are some, like Gorman-Rupp, but not too many. So the fact that they have a nice no debt, clean balance sheet, so I still think because of that, the dividend is still safe, at least for now. Speaking of the dividends, the company proudly proclaims that they have 49 years of dividend increases. So, 49 years is outstanding. That's closing in on, that dividend king level. To be a king, you have to have 50 or more years of raising your dividends. I don't know why it's not on the dividend champion list. In fact, back in 2020, they were on the list for dividend champions. To be a champion has to be 25 plus years of raising your dividends every year. And back in 2020, when I look at the dividend champion list, they were listed at 47 years of dividend increase streak. So now they're listed on that list as a dividend contender with 16 years. So I don't know, the keepers of the dividend champion list has changed. It used to be Dave Kish. He died back in 2018. It changed now. Justin Law manages and runs the dividends champion list. So maybe the new keeper of the list saw something back 16 years ago he didn't like. I know occasionally they've paid, like back in 2018, they paid a special $2 dividends. So I don't know. Either way, I think they're pretty dividend focused either way. So whether we say, well, 16 years or 40, or we take the company at their word that it's 49 years, either way, they've got a remarkable dividend history. Since they are debt-free, there's no ratings from the rating agencies like, S&P, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, Fitch. We don't have any ratings because they have no debt to rate. So Value Line included them in their regular survey a couple of years ago, and now Value Line has moved. They have moved Gorman-Rupp into their expanded small and mid-cap subscription, which I think actually makes sense. The market cap is only about, $700 million. Goes from 680 or 700, 750, depending on the stock. So they're under $1 billion as far as market cap. Value Line rates their financial strength at B++. Honestly, I don't. Looking at the numbers, I can kind of understand why they would do that, because they're so focused on just one aspect, pumps. But going just by finances, I think they probably deserve to be, an A or at least an A-. I don't know why they give them the triple B of B++, but even B++ is a pretty strong rating. But I've looked at insider trading here. There's really nothing in 2022. In 2021, there were some sales by a director, the treasurer, a vice president. All were under $100,000 worth at a time, and there were prices in the $30. So they were being sold at prices under the current prices. So as far as pros, I actually think it's a good thing that the Gorman family owns a big chunk of the company. They have skin in the game. They may behave more like a private company in the sense that they can think long term. They're not trying to, finesse everything quarter to quarter to try to, meet Wall Street's expectations. Private firms usually take more of a long view of their operations. So that's one pro. The second thing is obviously that they have no debt. I love the fact that they have no debt. No debt, period. And I've already mentioned it before, but that's really a rarity today. It's almost like this is being run by people that treat it's like an old-fashioned private company, being run very conservatively, that you can buy into. But it's a lot of times private companies be very conservative, sort of old-fashioned in that regard. I've already touched on also about another pro. Value Line rates at a B++. I think that's still good. I think they probably warrants really at least an A-, if not a straight single A rating, just because of their balance sheet being so clean. When you buy into this, it's all equity. There's no debt. The dividend is still looking at, it's the dividend appears to be safe to me, whether we take the company's word that they have that 49 years of increasing it, or we say, well, it's really less than that. I think clearly the management, the owners are very proud of this fact, and they advertise it. So I don't really think there's any chance that they're going to cut it or suspend it anytime soon. I think the dividend is pretty much for the foreseeable future is to be counted on. Um, Another pro, I would say, there were no sales to a single customer that's 10% or more. And they say that that's true in 2019, 2020, 2021. I mean, that makes sense. It's sort of the people that buy pumps is kind of all over the place, from different water utilities to oil companies to, I mean, there's not going to be one giant customer. They sell all these different pumps to all these different people for all these different reasons. So there really isn't any concentration. I think under risks, I'll get into the risk. I mean, there's really only the one big risk I can see is that we're relying on the economy cooperating. When we're talking about, like I can see the fire suppression, like sprinkler systems and new buildings being built. I can see, well, the economy kind of dictates how many new buildings are going to go up, where they're going to need these pumps. The oil pumps, that obviously the oil industry, you get into all that. But I think the economy as a whole, I think even the pumps that go to town water systems, municipal water companies are big customers. A lot of these things, it really depends on, it depends on, I guess, the economy as a whole. How much money a city has or a town has to either rehab or build out a water system. That those are decisions made based on more of a macroeconomic level. And unfortunately, I think that might be why Gorman-Rupp has suffered somewhat, because these are things outside of their control. So their earnings are going up and down, and a lot of it depends on the demand for pumps, but that demand really depends on what's going on in the economy. And so, they seem like they're doing a good job, but managing the company, it just might be that this is just an industry where, they don't have a lot of control over the demands. It's beyond their control. In a summary, I would just like to say that, I like the smallish family-run type company. It's very old line, very like old economy. I feel like it almost like from a time when, it goes back to like when America actually made things in our country. We didn't just get all this stuff from China. America was the manufacturing powerhouse. And so, as we see, there are still companies out there where they make things here, and it's still an industrial company, and they make things in America, and that's great. It's a great feeling to know that there are these companies that still exist, and they make a lot of different types of pumps, and they seem to survive by making small, opportunistic acquisitions, staying out of debt, keeping cash on hands, being pretty darn conservative. And I think thinking long term, it's basically the best of industrial America. They make pumps, and they make all types of pumps, and it's a business. It's not a sexy business. There's nothing particularly glamorous about this stuff, but it seems the company seems solid to me. It just seems, I would use the word solid. It seems like a solid kind of company, and they're not very big, but they do what they do, and they've tried to expand here and there when it makes sense. So I own some shares. My average cost is $28.42. Right now, as of today, they're trading at around $26. It's still not cheap, even at that level. The 2021 earnings per share at $1.14. We're talking a price to earnings ratio of about 22, 23. So not a cheap company, but remember, no debt, so it's all equity. And you know, this again, this is not financial advice. This is just my opinion. But I would say that that's the truth on the Gorman-Rupp Company. So please, by all means, leave your comments, your opinions. Thank you for watching.